feel that your colleagues listen to your ideas about?
Not really, not really. you know, they are convinced that they are right. They have a war plan. They have a plan how to beat the Russians. Many of these countries were never occupied by the Russians, yeah? So they don't have physical, personal experience. What does it mean to have a war with Russia? They were never occupied by the Russians. We were for 40 years, So we know what is at the stake.
Budapest is back at the center of global diplomacy. After a 2-hour phone call between US President Donald Trump and Russia's Vladimir Putin, the White House confirmed that both sides are preparing for a face-to-face meeting, and that Hungary has emerged as the very likely venue. At first glance, the choice may seem unusual, but to those following the reshaping of post-war geopolitics, Budapest is the only European capital that fits Trump's and Putin's shared interests: neutral, strategic, and symbolic. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán is one of the few Western leaders trusted by both Moscow and Washington. He maintains warm personal ties with Vladimir Putin and a strong ideological kinship with Donald Trump, two leaders who see themselves as nationalists, fighting global elites. When most of NATO isolated the Kremlin after the 2022 invasion of Ukraine, Orbán chose engagement over condemnation. He became the only European Union head of government, apart from Turkey's Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Slovakia's Robert Fico, to regularly meet Putin in person. Trump's White House now sees Hungary as a uniquely viable host, a NATO member still open to dialogue with Russia and led by a man both presidents publicly admire.
We have Hungary. Oh, Victor, where is Victor? Victor. We love Victor. Viktor, I call him. I put the little accent on it. You are fantastic, all right? I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but I'm the only one that matters. You are fantastic. He's a great leader.
Orbán's relationship with Brussels has been a long, bitter tug of war. He has defied EU sanctions on Russia, attacked European arms deliveries to Ukraine, and accused Western leaders of hypocrisy over energy policy, calling it downright laughable that they claim independence from Moscow while quietly importing Russian oil through intermediaries.
We don't want a common fate with them. Their fate is that they live next to Russia and are constantly at war with the Russians. We can't change that, and it doesn't help if we take over everything they suffer from. We want to save Hungary from the fact that if Ukrainians join the Union, we will also be at war with the Russians.
To Orbán, the European project has lost its independence to Washington and its moral compass to ideology. His message is consistent. The war in Ukraine must be ended through diplomacy, not weapons. He believes Brussels should be negotiating with Moscow, not merely financing Kyiv. That rhetoric, condemned in Brussels but praised in Moscow, has made Hungary both the outlier of Europe and the outpost of peace within NATO.
Look how the EU is treating the Prime Minister of Hungary, the President of the European Union this half year, just for saying, We should all be in favor of finding compromises, not solving problems through war. And for that, they're trying to make him a pariah.
For President Trump, the Budapest venue serves multiple strategic goals. It reinforces his narrative as a global deal-maker, fresh from his self-declared success in brokering a ceasefire in Gaza. It also distances him from Washington's traditional diplomatic machinery, aligning with his campaign message that only outsiders can make peace. Hosting a summit in Budapest allows Trump to operate on friendly terrain, flanked by Orban, a leader who has openly endorsed him and repeatedly declared that when Trump was president, there was peace. When he left, war began. The optics are clear: an American president making peace on European soil without Brussels or Berlin at the table.
You also posted about your call with President Putin today. You spoke about the meeting in Hungary with him. Do you have a timeline or a date set for?
We'll meet and talk parties, but this is a terrible relationship the two of them have, and it's one of those things. I've seen things that nobody would believe, but this is one of them. So we're going to be meeting in Hungary. Viktor Orbán is going to be hosting, and it's really something that's time.
For the Kremlin, Hungary is a comfortable compromise. Inside NATO, but sympathetic to Moscow. It's a venue that gives Putin the gravitas of a Western stage appearance without the risk of a political ambush. Orban has repeatedly called EU sanctions against Russia self-harming and refused to cut energy ties, insisting that Hungary's dependence on Russian gas is a matter of physics, not politics.
The European Union has decided to go to war. It has been declared that even if the United States withdraws, it will continue supporting Ukraine. This is disappointing to me because the EU was founded as a peace project, and now it is becoming a war project. Hungary has decided not to go to war, yet the EU has decided that Hungary must join the war. It has also been decided that for this to happen, Hungary must have a government that is both Ukraine-friendly and Brussels-friendly. This is the backdrop to Hungary's domestic political situation today.
Moscow knows that Budapest won't echo Kyiv's demands or Brussels' outrage. It's neutral enough to host, yet Western enough to send a message that Russia still commands relevance in Europe's political architecture. The peace tour legacy.
Of course, Mr. Prime Minister was presenting a generally Western point of view known to us, including from the point of view of Ukraine's interests. Nevertheless, we are grateful to Mr. Prime Minister for his visit to Moscow. We see this as an attempt to restore the dialogue and give it additional impetus.
Orban's credentials as a self-styled peacemaker are not new. During Hungary's EU presidency last year, he embarked on what became known as the Peace Tour, visiting Putin in Moscow, Zelensky in Kyiv, and Xi Jinping in Beijing. He positioned Hungary as a small nation, punching above its weight, able to talk to everyone when Europe could talk to no one. The proposed Trump-Putin meeting in Budapest is, in many ways, the culmination of that effort. It validates Orban's claim that Hungary is the only capital in Europe where diplomacy, not ideology, still matters. Budapest's unique position inside the Western alliance gives it legitimacy, but its policy independence, from refusing to supply weapons to Ukraine to condemning EU war propaganda, gives it credibility with Moscow. Orban insists that Hungary will remain loyal to NATO's collective defense, even authorizing the shoot-down of Russian drones entering NATO airspace, but he refuses to let his country be dragged into someone else's war.
What do you think of the recent days drone incursions on Danish territory?
Shoot them down. That's all. If you have drones which does not belong to your state, shoot them down. Of course.
I don't know why, I don't know why, I don't know. If the Ukrainians bomb the sections on the Russian side, then it stops, but for now, it is working.
On Ukraine and the accession opening up of clusters, what is your thought?
There is a legal, strictly settled procedure how to do it. We have to stick to that. It means unanimous decisions.
Why would you say they are not a sovereign country?
Because they are not. They don't have money to maintain themselves. We pay the army. We pay the public bureaucracy. We pay the pension. We pay everything. If you are paid by somebody else, you're not a sovereign country. It's not a moral statement. It's just fact, you know?
This delicate duality, NATO-aligned but Russia-friendly, makes Hungary a singular meeting ground, one that neither Washington nor Moscow can reject. Domestically, Orban's stance divides Hungarians. Many, like Budapest resident György Zirmai, believe the Trump-Putin meeting could make Hungary a key player in shaping the war's outcome. Others, like Viktor Orbán, see it as another sign of Orban's submission to Moscow, arguing that only Western military support can keep Ukraine alive. But even Orban's critics concede one point. Hungary has forced its way into a conversation dominated for years by larger powers.
Hungary doesn't have the same weight to presenting any arguments. We have a prime minister who basically plays Putin's tune. Honestly saying, he's like his lackey. In reality, the Americans and the European Union need to provide military support for Ukraine to survive. Otherwise, it would have been lost long ago.
Budapest offers something that no other European capital can: the optics of neutrality inside the Western alliance. Turkey, the only other realistic option, is now consumed by the Gaza file and strained US ties. Switzerland remains off limits for Putin. Austria's neutrality lacks NATO legitimacy. That leaves Hungary, a paradoxical host that embodies both sides of the conflict, a NATO member that buys Russian oil, and an EU state that attacks Brussels' war policy. For Trump, a Budapest summit offers a chance to demonstrate statesmanship ahead of a bruising election cycle. For Putin, it projects strength, an image of Russia negotiating peace on equal footing. For Orban, it's validation, Hungary as the indispensable intermediary between rival empires. If talks fail, Hungary still wins prestige. If they succeed, Orban cements his place as Europe's unlikely peacemaker. From Washington to Moscow, from Brussels to Kyiv, all eyes are now on Budapest. It's where Trump's diplomatic ambition meets Putin's strategic patience, under the roof of a leader who has spent years defying both NATO and the EU.
You know, NATO has no business in Ukraine. Ukraine is not member of NATO, neither Russia. And my job is to keep it as it is. Thank you very much.
In a Europe divided between hawks and appeasers, Hungary has become the one capital where both sides can sit down and talk. Whether this summit delivers peace or merely another photo op, one truth remains. Budapest has once again become the geopolitical capital of contradiction, and possibly of peace.